So today we're talking about the Four Agreements. This book is based on Toltec wisdom. Thousands of years ago lived a people in southern Mexico known as women and men of knowledge. They came together as masters and students at Teotichuacan, the ancient city of pyramids outside Mexico City, known as the place where man becomes God. They were known as Naguals. Don Miguel Ruiz, who is the author of this book, and if you've never seen the book, this is what it looks like. He's from the Eagle Knight lineage and has been guided to share the powerful teachings of the Toltec. Everything is in divine synchronicity as I've been reading different books and realizing the agreements I've made with my own self. And this book is about the agreements we make with ourselves. Now, I'm going to start with, and he's got up here, this is part one because I wanted to give time to this series. We're going to do part two on the 17th because next day is Mother's Day. Mother's Day. So we're going to interrupt it with Mother's Day and have a lovely celebration of the goddesses of creation for Mother's Day. So part one today is going to be some of the stories that they've told and some of the first two agreements. The smoky mirror, as depicted in the book, is a story of a human being just like us over 3,000 years ago who was studying to become a medicine man and learn the knowledge of his ancestors. He didn't completely agree with all that he was being taught, and he felt there was more. So one night he went to a cave, and he had a dream that he saw his body sleeping. And when he awoke, he had a vision, and an inner voice spoke to him, within him. As he looked at his hands and body, he realized that he was made of light. He realized that he was made of stars. As he gazed into the stars, he realized that the stars didn't create the light, but the light created the stars. And a lot of us in New Thought, metaphysics, even Unity Christianity, that newer version of the light, believe in this, that we are made of light and that all the things that we have around us are simply images and reflections of that light. He realized everything is light and one living being, and that the light was the messenger of life, alive and containing all information. There's been many, many masters that have taught us these things, many different people that have come to the planet to teach us of our own light, our own divinity. We say every week we're exploring our humanity and discovering our divinity. What we're saying is we're discovering that light within us. We're discovering that we are all light and that all creation is of light. So as he saw matter in the world, and we've talked about these different kind of things before, and physics will lend to this too, especially if you're really looking into quantum physics and what scientists have come up with before. Now, is that matter is simply the reflection of light, and that all light is really a mirror of what we're reflecting back to it. But it's also a mirror of what we're reflecting back in our own minds. The world to him and to his discovery and to the many masters was an illusion, was a dream. And that as we are all in this dream and we are all in this world, sometimes smoke gets in the way from us seeing who we really are and seeing the world as it really is. That is one of the things that the smoky mirror part of this book is lending to. People thought him so wise that he was the incarnation of God. And he said, yes, I am. And so are you. And he was trying to teach this to the people, but some of the people were not ready for it. Some of the people didn't realize this, and he realized he was a mirror for these people, that he can show them things within themselves. But some of them were still stuck in their dream. They were stuck in their dream and their illusion. And it created a fog from their perception of what the light was. So he realized this within himself, and he renamed himself the Smoky Mirror, so that he can remember his visions, point out and teach that we do not recognize each other because of the smoke in between us, that the smoke is the dream, the mirror is you, and you are the dreamer. So as he was studying some of these things, and when he was looking in the stars, one of the things he noticed was that in between, there seemed to be darkness. But the revelation that he had was that there's power in the in-between, that there is stuff in the in-between. And again, physics will lend that to us. So when we look in between ourselves, and sometimes that fog gets in between us, we have to remember that there is more than empty space in between us. There's still all of creation, all of light, all of love, and it is up to us to realize this and to see these things. As we do this, we're going to come into our own enlightenment. We're going to awaken more. We're going to realize the beauty and wonder of who we are as spirits, who we are as beings, who we are as human beings. It's all a journey. We're going to trip many, many, many times along the way. As we move forward in this, the next part of this book was called the Domestication and the Dream of the Planet. We have been domesticated by the dreams of other people. We have been in a society that has lent to us belief systems, and in the premise of this book, they're agreements that we have bought into. They're agreements that we have made with ourselves. It's the dream of the planet, but within the dream of the planet, we have a bazillion or 7 billion dreamers going on. As we are the personal dreamer in our own lives, we have the ability to go back within us and dream the dream of love, dream the dream of creation, dream the dream of truth. The mind dreams 24 hours a day. It's in a dream state all the time. It dreams as we are asleep. It dreams as we are awake. The dream of the planet is a collective dream of the billions of smaller personal dreams that are going on. This dream contains the dream of family, the dream of communities, the dream of cities, countries, and finally the dream of humanity. It includes social rules, belief systems, laws, religions, different cultures, and ways of living. Government, schools, holy days or holidays, all these different things are dreams of the planet. And in us, we have been hooked within by the attention we have put out upon society's dreams or the dreams of the planet. We have had our attention hooked on these dreams since we were childhood. It's caused us to focus only on what we were willing to perceive. Because so many of us know that perception is reality, and as I may perceive one thing, you may perceive another as we're looking at the very same thing. Now, we have to breathe into this sometimes, because so many times if I perceive one thing one way and you perceive it another, we're so apt to say, you're wrong, I'm right, you're wrong, or I'm wrong, you're right, and then buy into that dream. Or buy into that agreement. As life moved on, we learned to pay attention to all the ways we were being programmed in us by the dreams of others and how to believe what was right, what was wrong, what was beautiful or what was ugly. As more of the social rules and dreams forced our attention to them, we formulated these thoughts as belief systems. From the perspective of this book, for us to store any of this in our body, we had to make an agreement to do so. So, as I go in my life, as we go in our lives, as any single thing that has happened to me or happened to you, I had to make an agreement about that in my life. And he uses a lot of different examples. One of the examples he uses is a little girl was singing one day, and the mother said, "Stop it, you're making noise." She had a headache. The noise at the time was just bringing her pain. But in the moment, in her grief of the headache and in that pain, where we sometimes in our pain deliver it back out because we're human, she told the little girl that you can't sing, your voice is not pretty, it's just irritating me. And in that moment, the girl had a hook, and she made an agreement with herself that she couldn't sing. She made an agreement with herself that her voice wasn't to be heard, and she never sang again. As she moved forward in life, she started realizing that maybe she could sing. Maybe there was a time to sing. Someone else encouraged her to sing one day and said, "No, it's okay, honey, you have a beautiful voice." And she realized within herself that she was believing the agreement of her mom and our moms and dads are half of what the agreements, most of the agreements that we have in our bodies about who we are and who we grow up to be. Whether they said you were ugly or you're stupid or things like that, we got hooked into it, and then we made an agreement within ourselves and said, "I can't sing." And then we shut our voice down, and we prevent ourselves from singing our heart song, whatever that may be. Whether you're destined to be a singer or not, we all have a song to sing. It's the agreements that we place within ourselves that underlie everything that we do in our lives. All of our judgments of how to be men and women, good or bad, holy or unholy, again, they're all agreements we've made in our head. Agreements that either punish us or reward us. Sometimes we have agreements that cause us to be the victim or the judge. So you may say, "Hey, Mark, I love that shirt." "Mark, I hate that shirt." Either way, this is your opinion. I agree from that point on. Brian said something the other day about renting space in your head. letting people rent space in your head. It's like, oh my goodness, I have been the landlord of many people renting space in my head. And we all have. And we never got rent paid either. But the payment we got were these agreements that we bought into. We agreed that their version of our life was what was true. And therefore we started having these agreements within us. And they became either the victim or the judge. They became the book of law that you run your life instead of creating the dream of love. So they become a book of law that you run your life by instead of creating a dream of love. How many times have we just opened that book of law within ourselves and said, yes, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, I should do that, all because of the dreams of the planet, the domestication of the planet, all because of the dreams and underlying misperceptions of light of other people telling us how that we're supposed to show up in this world. And we've talked about this many, many, many different ways through different books, from Handbook to Higher Consciousness, Right Use of Will. All these things are aligning in truth because truth will always align with itself. Transformation of all these agreements to serve oneself in truth are essential to create the dream you want. Hence the title, The Four Agreements. So as we come into this, we have to breathe and never go back within ourselves and go, okay, another place to flog myself because I made misagreements with myself, or I let somebody else rent space in my head, or I let somebody else tell me what I should be, how I should feel, how I should even perceive love. Or for the moments I've done that because of my social programming as well. We have to look within this and realize we have the opportunity to make a new agreement. As I said in meditation today, the sun arose for the very first time today, and so did we. And the sun gave us a promise of today, not tomorrow. There's no promises about tomorrow. There's only a promise for today, and that's what the sun does. It brings dawn from darkness, and it only happens one time a day. Unless someone else has seen two sunrises, if you've been on a really, 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 really fast jet, that you can do that, it only happens once a day, and it gives us that opportunity for a new beginning. It gives us that opportunity for us to re-agree, to make a new agreement with inside. The first agreement of all the agreements is to be impeccable with your word. And the word is different than what we might think it to be. From the Gospel of John in the Bible we get, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word is God. This is the word they're talking about. This is the word of our impeccability to speak truth. Through word we express our creative power. All we feel, dream, and are is manifested through our words. We talked about this in Handbook to Higher Consciousness with the Cornucopia Center. We also lent and married it to the fact that it was the throat chakra, which is where we speak of our creation. We may attract to us from one place in our body, but we're also attracting to us by what we speak out into this world. And that's what this is talking about. The impeccability of our word manifests everything. It is the most powerful tool we have as humans, and it is the tool of magic. It is what brings every single thing that all of us have ever manifested is by what we speak of this life. Life sucks. Life is great. Feel the energy difference between the two of them. And we've all been there. We've all had both. We just have to understand and breathe into it and go back inside and love ourselves. It's the most powerful tool, but it's a double-edged sword as well. We can create a beautiful dream, or we can destroy every single thing around us, all with our word. The other edge is impeccability of the word, which will create beauty, love, and heaven on earth. That's one edge of the sword. Another edge is misuse of the word, and in this book it's likened to black magic. And it's interesting that I did this talk last week on fire because I hadn't read the book yet, and it was saying everything I was talking about last week. I feel like I'm almost being redundant from last week's talk about creating the heaven and creating the hell. But what this is saying is that when we misuse our word, that's that edge of the sword that slices our dreams, that slices our creation, that makes us live in hell. And it's not your hell I'm living in, it's mine. You've got your own personal one to deal with. What I can do with my word is bring you back to a place of heaven by living in it within myself, by being impeccable with my word inwardly, and then it will always be impeccable outwardly. It can set you free or it can enslave you. All magic is based upon your word. Your impeccable word is pure magic, and misuse of the word, again, is called black magic. By hooking our attention to someone's words, we can agree to what they are saying, or we can use the magic of our own word. So I can believe anything that you guys say about me, and sometimes I have in my humanness, and sometimes you have believed what other people said about you, and it hurt, and it felt like a sword cutting you to the quick, and it did. And then the impeccability of our own word brings us back to that place of heaven. Fanning the flames of heaven within ourselves is how I described it last week, or throwing fuel on the fire and letting it consume you. It's just breathing into it and knowing that the impeccability of word is what is going to bring us into that state of bliss, that state of heaven, that state of truth, because that's the truth of who we are. Heaven on earth. Course of Miracles talks about this all the time. All power is given unto you in heaven as well as on earth. There is nothing you cannot do. That's the impeccability of the word. Back to what was in that particular gospel about in the beginning was the word, and the word was of God. We are the gods. Just like the 3,000-year-old man who was trying to become a medicine man realized, I'm an incarnation of God. And when the people saw him that way, they wanted to just think he was. So he said, no, we are. But as in his wisdom and his understanding and his particular enlightenment in the moment, he realized that the best way for him to show this to the people was to be that mirror. And he called himself, again, the smoky mirror, because he knew that in between was the fog of misperception. That's where the impeccability of the word comes. What if they say you look pale? You might be getting sick. When I saw someone look that way before, they had cancer. And then, boom, the moment you agree to that, you're making yourself ripe for that condition. And this is the example he used right in the book, which is a sad one, because so many of us have bought into maybe not just that word, cancer, but other ailments, because someone else came up to us and said, you look ill. I do. Oh. And we got hooked. And we agreed with them. You're right, I do look ill. And the next day you were throwing up. Has anybody ever played hooky from work and said that you were sick and then developed diarrhea or something? Oh,
call that karma.
Yeah. It's also the power of our word, and that's where we use the black magic upon our own selves, because we weren't being impeccable with our word. What if someone says you're stupid, and now you agree to be stupid? This happens to children all the time. We all have the same potential, and I know that some people are born with higher IQs, and that's all wonderful. But how do we know that if that kid didn't hear they were stupid, if they did a thing that was probably incongruent with being safe or something like that, IQ wouldn't have raised. IQ wouldn't have developed. Intelligent quotient wouldn't have been there to meet the potential that every single human has. And I know that we've all come into a different world, to a different body, to a different existence, and that there's also a giveaway for all the wonderful people that have shown up in bodies that have had lower IQs or perhaps mental handicaps or things like that. That's all part of our soul journey as well. But to be impeccable with our word when we're teaching our children, when we're teaching ourselves, is to know that what we're doing is implanting them. We're actually taking a hook out and hooking them with a notion that they therefore then agree, let us not only rent space, but own the space in their minds forever. Until that one blessed day when someone comes up to them and says, you're very smart. And they have another opportunity for another hook. But it's still another hook. And it may be a hook that gets them out of believing they're stupid, but they got to go back inside, and that's what awakening and awareness is about, so that we can go inside and we can be the masters of our mind. We can be the one that owns, tills the land, rents the space to us. Sometimes we have to realize that we have to be impeccable with our word to ourselves as well. The word impeccability means without sin. It's based on the Latin word peccatus, which means sin, and which means without. And I did not know that until I read this book. I had no idea that impeccable meant without sin. But I knew that it vibrated in a place of pure impeccability. Be pure with your words, and I've described pure before as just a clean pipe that nothing is stuck to the sides that allows the flow to go unobstructed. That was purity. In this translation, sin means it's anything that you do that goes against yourself. In the Bible, we've heard the mortal sin, and many masters have teach about mortal sin, and that's what this is talking about right here. That any sin or missing of the mark, which is what it also translates to, or as I've shared with you, ripe or unripe, that goes against yourself is a mortal sin, because it's a sin that will put you in hell. It's a mistake or a missing of the mark that will put you in a place of hell within yourself, when we're all heired to live in heaven within ourselves. Being impeccable means you use your energy in the direction of truth and of love. That's what being impeccable with your word means. When we curse, blame, try to destroy others with our word, we are not being impeccable with our word. And sometimes that happens in this life. But if you've all gone within and realized every moment that you've tried to do that with someone else, how did you feel inside? Were you feeling in bliss and in heaven? You might have felt right or justified, but were you feeling in bliss or in heaven? Or were you feeling yucky and in your own hell? Was it consuming you? When we use our word to spread personal poisons of jealousy, envy, hate, or anger, again, we are creating that hell. We lie to others, we lie to ourselves, guising our words as truth, but it's black magic. And we have to understand that that's the part of that black magic that is going to cut us. That's that double-edged sword. Because swords can do wonderful things, too. They can be used as tools instead of weapons. And the sword of truth is a sword of a tool of magic. And the sword of misuse, it becomes a weapon, and it's usually ourselves that we wield it on. And as we wield the sword on ourselves, well, misery loves company, so I might as well wield it on you as well. So we've got to breathe into these things and understand the impeccability of our word starts right here. It's got really nothing to do what I say to you, but it will have something to do what I say to you, because as I'm more impeccable with my word, my own creation, my own love, I will be impeccable with my word with you. Forgiveness of those who misuse their words is important to who? Us, not them. They may like to hear the word, I forgive you, but half the time when you're forgiving someone, it's an inside job. You don't ever even have to go up to them and go, I forgive you. Sometimes it may not even be received. They might not be ripe to receive it. The forgiveness is happening for us inside. I forgive you is a word of impeccability within us that creates us to live in that heaven and to have the fire and wonder of the flames of who all that creation is burn within us brightly, so that we can pass that love on, so we can pass that impeccable word on. I forgive you, or I forgive you. 3 words. They're some of the most powerful words in the human language, in whatever language they show up, that don't ever have to be spoken out loud. There's vibration when you speak it out loud, but to use that as a mantra and to look in the mirror and be able to say that to yourself, that's the most powerful one, because there's a place in us that has to be forgiven for all the different notions, all the different hooks, all the different agreements I made in me that were just misperceptions of the light. It frees our minds of the viruses that have foiled our own computer. Another series in a book where they're talking about the computer, the brain as a computer. And as they're talking about the viruses that sometimes we are hackers, hacking other people's computers, installing viruses within them by the use of our word, or the misuse of impeccable word. This is all another place for us to realize that we're letting somebody else program us. And in this book, they're calling it agreements, that we're using the agreement of what they said about us to make us believe this is who we are and this is how we run our life, and then we're living in our own personal hell because we bought into the dreams, the different things that they've been programmed with, all the different notions that have been instilled in them, all the different hooks, all the different ways that they've been domesticated. And then they're now in me. all the voices in our own heads regurgitating the venom of someone else's poison. They only poisoned us one time. And then we keep it going and keep it going and keep it going. There's a story about the monk, and I might not get it perfectly verbatim, but it's basically two monks walking along a path, and they've taken a vow of chastity and no talking. And they come upon a woman that asks them for help, and the one monk's like, not saying anything. And she's keeps asking for help. So one monk picks her up, helps her, carries her for however long he carries her, and puts her back down. And then they continue, they're walking, and the other monk is tripping out. I can't believe you touched that woman. I can't believe you carried her. And for on and on and on for miles and miles and miles. And finally the other monk looks to her and says, I put her down 2 miles ago. You've been still carrying her the whole time. So that's the gist of that story. And some of you are familiar with that story, but it's how many times that somebody will bring something at us, and then we'll keep carrying it, and they've already let it go. We're the ones carrying it. Sometimes it's intentional. It's still unintentional because it's coming from their hurt, coming from a misperception. That's where we get the choice to put it down, to unhook ourselves, and to make a new agreement. An agreement we are keeping with what they said about us instead of the agreement of truth. Be impeccable with your word towards yourself. Tell yourself how much you love you. Use the magic to break the millions of agreements you've made by those computer hackers that would hack your own programming with viruses of black magic and words of gossip. Create heaven within you instead of hell by being impeccable with your word. This is the very first lesson, or the very first agreement in the 4 agreements. The second agreement is don't take anything personally. We take things personally when we agreed what they said about us. As soon as you agree, you take in their poison and are trapped in the hell state of being. It's not about you, it's about them. It all will cause you to be trapped in, it's all about me. You got to breathe into this sometimes, because it's like, well, it was about me, they slapped me. It's like, how is that not about me? It's not. It's about them, whoever the them is out there. When we take things personally, we make the assumption that they know what's going on in our world and will try to impose our world on them. So this is a real interesting one to breathe into. This is one that takes practice. All of it takes practice. Practice makes progress, as our brother David Ross says in his delightful little song. I used to always say, like many of us, practice makes perfect, but how many of us really are going to be perfect by any standards of what perfection means? I wrote a poem a long time ago called How Perfect, Sweet, and Perfection, because it really lends us to striving more and more, and to realize that through our failures do we learn, and through that learning do we strive, and in that strife do we give others permission to practice so that they can make progress. This is practice, and taking things personally is very much going to put you right in a state of hell like that. Instantaneously. When we take things personally, I already said that, taking things personally makes you easy prey for predators and black magicians. They hook you with their opinion, feed you their poison, and when you take it in, you personally eat it up. You eat their emotional garbage, and then it becomes your emotional garbage. This is a really powerful agreement to keep with yourself. Some of the examples that he uses in here, or even if someone shot you in the head, it's not about you. It's about them. It's like, that's pretty extreme. But it really isn't about me. It's about them. Whatever people think, do, say about you, don't take it personally, even when it's very personal. That's a hard one to separate. Sometimes it's being done to your person. It's like, well, it seemed about me when they came and shot me in my head. But it wasn't. It was about them. It was about their hurt, their pain, their agreements, their hooks, their some misuse of their word, their impeccability, whatever it is that the domestication of society did to them. It lends to their hurt and their misperception of the light within them. So don't take anything personally. What if they say, one of the gifts of this agreement is the immunity. It's immunity. It's immunity from poison. When I don't take anything personal, if you try to poison me, I'm immune. It's like, wow, I like that. It's like having anti-venom in your blood all the time because you chose not to take it personally. Now remember, love is always a factor here. The more you can love and be in a place of love and be impeccable with your word, as the first agreement suggests, that lends to helping you with the second agreement. Because the more I can be in a vibration of love and be saying loving things to myself, I'm less apt to take it personally. And when we do, because we do, I do, I've done it, we've all done it, it's human nature to make it about ourselves, especially as a Leo. Sorry, Kim. my co-Leos. But it's an innocent thing that we've done. It's another place that we got hooked inside. But when we can free ourselves by not taking it personally, even when it's coming at our person or what we believe to be our person, because all we are light bodies anyway. I mean, if you're going to be in a metaphysical community, most of us believe that we're spirits in form and that this is a dream and an illusion, and that's what this book lends to too, that we are made of light. And that I just showed up in this form, hair and all, except for right here. And I have the option within myself all the time to not take it personally. What if somebody says, oh, you're so beautiful? Oh, you're so ugly. Do we believe them either way? Change the agreements you made about yourself in these new agreements and live in a heaven state of mind. Don't even take the negative garbage you hear in your own head personally. And this one was really interesting, which is why I wrote this one down. Be aware of it and make a new agreement to talk truth to yourself and be impeccable with your word towards you. The way he describes it in this book is that we have all those voices within our head, and I've said voices, we've said the village, we've said the audience, we've used it in every possible metaphor you can. But have you ever taken personally what your own self said about yourself? Sometimes we've hurt our own feelings with what we're saying. And that's what this one's talking about. It's like, don't take it personally. Understand that somewhere along the line, one of those selves or voices got influenced by outside conditions or outside misperceptions of what the light is. And outside misperceptions of the fact that it is light just as much as the other voice saying, hey, you're awesome. Well, no, you're not. You didn't do that right. Or no, you're not, you sang off key. Or no, you're not, you built that thing and it was out of plumb. Whatever that voice is within you that's going to make you wrong, don't take it personally. Understand that it's been programmed. It might have been hacked, too. It might have been poisoned by someone else, and you agreed. You took out your wallet and said, I'll buy that. Yeah, give me that. Matter of fact, I'll pay double for it. How many times have we done that? It's about breathing in and not taking any of these things personal. Sadness, grief, all of these things can disappear when we stop taking things personally. You may be aware of intentions. You may be aware that it was directed at you, which seems personal, but it's not. It's always about them and their poison within and the agreements that they've made in their head about themselves. This is that time to bring that forgiveness back, to bring that impeccability of our word of I forgive you without ever saying, you know, I forgave you the other day. What the hell? It's none of their business. They'll get it by the energy. They'll get it through your loving. They'll get it through the ripples of your being because we're all light and we're all connected. There's nothing in between us. And there's everything in between us all at the same time. What you do when you say, I forgive you, is you take that fog and that smoke and just whoo, and then you see pure love and light within each other. You get to see the eyes of your brothers and sisters and know that, wow, we really are one. We really are connected. I have misperceived you as being over there my whole life. I've misperceived me being over here, and I thought that the stuff in between us was just empty, and it's filled with love. It's filled with everything that we can ever want. All the heaven can be right here in our body. If you practice this agreement, you can stay in that heaven's place, that bliss, that love all the time. You'll know when people are lying to you, it's because they're afraid, and that's it. It helps you get off your own back about judgments. It will actually release judgments because you'll look into their eyes and you'll have compassion. Haven't you ever seen someone petrified? Did you judge them? Or were you really compassionate? Not petrified in their head. I mean really stuck in a moment of petrification, instantaneous, or compassion comes on board. Well, when we can see these different things, even when they see someone else misusing their word of impeccability as a black magic, Go inside and just be impeccable with your word about them. Again, you don't ever have to say a thing out loud to them. It's what you say in your head about them that becomes that ripple of love or a ripple of poison. It's all up to you. The whole world can gossip about you, and again, you'll be immune to the black magic of it because you're not taking it personally. All the hurt, despair, all of this will be gone. And you, the dreamer, can dream the dream of love. That is what we're here for, to share with each other, to be with each other, to understand that this is a co-created reality that we're all part of, that each and every one of us has a right to be here, and the right to be here is because we are here. We are part of the same creation. We're all part of the light. We are the light. The light did not make us. We are it, and we made everything around it through the love that we have. So as we go into these two agreements, I invite us to check this out, maybe perhaps read the book for yourself, or just run these two things in your head for the next few weeks about being impeccable with your word and taking nothing personally. Again, we're going to take a break from it next week so we can celebrate Mother's Day, and we'll resume the rest of this talk with part 3 and 4 and some prayers that they've written in there to help us on our way to remember to keep these new agreements with ourselves. Thank you.
It's morning, I wake up, taste of summer sweetness on my mind. It's a clear day in this city. Let's go dance under the streetlights. All the people in this world, let's come together more than ever. I can feel it, can you feel it? Come on over, down to the corner. My sisters and my brothers in every different color. Don't you feel that sunshine telling you to hold tight? Things will be alright, trying to find a better life. Come on over, down to the corner. My sisters and my brothers, there for one another, won't you? Come on over. Man, I know y'all wanna let yourself go. Oh, whoa. Some people, it's a pity they go all their lives and never know how to love or to let love go. But it's alright now, we'll make it through this somehow, and we'll paint the perfect picture. All the colors of this world will run together more than ever. I can feel it, can you feel it? Feel it over, down to the corner. My sisters and my brothers, every different color. Don't you feel that sunshine telling you to hold tight? Things will be alright, trying to find a better life. Come on over, down to the corner. My sisters and my brothers, there for one another. Won't you come on over? Man, I know y'all wanna let yourself go. Let yourself go. Find our reason to shine, but here and now this is our time. And I may never find the meaning of life, but for this moment I am fine. So come on over, down to the corner. My sisters and my brothers, every different color. Don't you feel that sunshine telling you to hold tight? Things will be alright, trying to find a better life. Come on over, down to the corner. We can leave it all behind, never been a better time. Come on over. Man, I know y'all wanna let yourself go. Come on over, down to the corner. My sisters and my brothers, very different color. Don't you feel that sunshine telling you to hold tight? Things will be alright, trying to find a better life. Come on over, down to the corner. We can leave it all behind, never been a better time. Come on over, man, I know y'all wanna let yourself go on and on and on and on and on. Yeah, yeah, we go on and on and on and on and on and on. Yeah, yeah, we go on and on and on and on and on and on. Yeah, yeah, we go on and on and on and on and on and on. Yeah, yeah, we go on and on and on and on and on and on. Thank you, Robin.